Welcome to Artist Trauma. This week we did no longer months. I don't know how long it's been. No longer human by a Samu Datsai.
whenever
Asumu? Asumu?
whenever we
No.
feel like it. I don't know. Whenever we feel like it.
Yeah, whenever it is. How do you think of it, Chris?
Yeah, I mean it was it's kind of like an instant os classic, you know? I mean it sort of is like I think I have I don't think I wouldn't call them squabbles with it or anything or quibbles. I think it's just personal issues with some of the parts. But I thought it was great, instant classic. I mean, with prose as readable as just like of mice and men. Um, It reminded me a little in the frame narrative of the Salah. Um, a
Yes.
little less weird maybe
Yeah,
than Salah.
Salah was much more the narrative ambiguity and the deep frustration about the most interesting event is unrecorded. Um,
Yeah, I feel like Dazai is crazy in a very normal way where it's like alcohol and problems, whereas Salah is sort of just crazy in a way where he'll live a long time, but he's categorically insane. Whereas Dazai was more of a relatable guy in a lot of senses.
yeah, it's funny in that way, just how I mean, in the genre of modernist weirdo literature,
Right.
where it's from that perspective. It's like, yeah, that's why he has problems, or the character of Yotso,
Mhm.
who's roughly Datsai.
Yeah.
He seems like someone who is like, yes, he has problems, but he's very clearly aware of them, acutely, painfully aware of them. Salah, at least the creature he creates in Sol Durante, I think that's the name of the book. It's been a little while. Uh,
Yeah, yeah.
God, yeah, he's just completely, what an alien, what an absolute alien.
Well, and I think that's where like desire and interest from the reader's perspective are at different points between the two. So you have a similar framing narrative. Um, what you don't have in the Salah is, first of all, one of the greatest introductions of all time, I felt.
Yeah, no, I'm always amazed at it. Like, basically, the introduction is just three. It says like, I have these notebooks of this guy, and I have three photographs. One is when he's a kid making this horrific smirk, with his fists clenched. The second is a student who just seems utterly impersonal and sort of floating and immaterially. And the third one where it's like he's just a total non-entity. I can't remember him even while I'm looking at him. Just what a I can't think of a way of starting a novel that gets you more interested in the protagonist, more wondering like what kind of creature legitimates these photographs.
That effigy suggests nothing so much as a human body to which a horse's head has been attached. It's the third photograph. I think that type of prose for me, I felt reading this novel that this is like Japan's version of the beat writers. It reminded me of sort of the gruffness of early Burroughs, of the conscious immorality of Kerouac. Um, I liked it a lot more than American Beats, just like in terms of its honesty, but that sort of auto fiction that it does here, um, it still has a beat feel. I think it's hard to overlook also the fact that substances play a heavy role in that feel. Like for him, the narrative is like addiction also produces the fiction. I
Well,
mean,
I
if
mean,
you wouldn't really have the fiction if it wasn't for the morphine and the alcohol.
yeah, the thing is actually about the addiction side of it, as in, basically just for
Hmm.
your audience, like we're basically just following from the autobiography, a pseudo autobiography of a man going from his early childhood to somewhere in his 30s. Uh,
Hmm. Which is also when Dazai committed suicide
yes,
with a
yes,
lover.
yeah, yeah. He's
He
it's
actually turns his life out a little better than it does in real life. Dying
yes.
of consumption might be more preferable.
Well,
Sorry, keep going.
I'm not so sure. I mean, he gets molested by his 60-year-old maid's
Oh, I forgot. Never mind.
like that's just for some reason
It
that's
was
a
such a
thing that
weird,
happened in feudal in Imperial Japan.
God,
Um,
what a weird ending of the book.
like, and it's like just sort of starting it out like it began. Like, okay, it's just women can't keep their hands off this guy from he's a toddler to fucking whatever.
Yeah, that's like really, really quick. The plot of this book is a guy discovers a notebook, but there's the man, he's molested at both ends of life.
Which is
And
not that important of an event, by the way. This is just a little detail that's thrown out that I forgot about completely. Um,
it is and it isn't, right? Like
isn't
it's
it?
sort of designed not to be, but it also presents his own framing of his life. Like
Mhm.
he feels it's there as an originary point for interesting reasons. But then he's obsessed with women, um, even though he claims they're obsessed with him.
Well, I mean, they are kind of.
Yeah, like a little. He's kind of the categorical bad boy. This is where it's a little beat, right? Like, he's kind of the loutish urban bad boy figure, like or trope.
No, I don't feel that way. I don't feel he's a bad boy in that way. Even the addiction is like the thing is about the addictions is like they're there and he has these problems, but it doesn't have that like I don't know bated breath desperation. It's just much more sad and quiet and withdrawn. Like I,
Yeah.
I guess for me when I think about the addiction work, I'm sure there's something better I've seen and read besides this, but like Requiem for a Dream like
Oh
yeah
yeah.
it's like a desperation, there's a headiness, there's like oh it's about the drugs and it's like this is just like yeah he would be doing well without the drugs either. He'd still
Oh
be.
no, that's a good point. No, no, I think that's a good point, and I think it would be more. There's a character in World According to Garp who kind of remind from I forget his name. It's an okay. He's a good writer. John Green. John Irving. Sorry, different writer. John Irving. Cider House Rules. Kind of popular novelist. Where he's at a boarding school and the guy smokes like a pack a day and writes short stories, and there's only a paragraph about him, but it's like destined to definitely die before 30. And it's kind of implying a quiet morbidity that I think you're right. Like when I said urban bad boy, I think that kind of misses that this is more of this is a psychological internal guy.
Yeah, and it's he's not I mean I it's a little funny because it is autobiographical and like it's a little hard to believe a man saying like women were just utterly like magnetized to me, like they just one glance and they're infatuated almost, like he doesn't say it, but he's not like bragging about it, there's no like emphasis on it, it's like it's just they just see him and they just love him so often they can't. So it's a little hard to believe, but I don't know. I read it and I feel like yeah, sure, sure. I just believe it with if you write like this, and there's so many other things about it that are just he's
Yeah. Well, he
so
has that kind of if you go with his real looks, he has that sort of consumptive 19th century attractiveness, I guess.
well no well the thing is that he is actually very very funny.
Oh yeah,
Like
funny
ever
guy.
since he was a kid, he's always been trying to goof off to make people laugh out of well a morbid and inescapable fear he has of other people. He's
Hmm.
a studied comedian. And this is something that, well, makes him very appealing to women. They like to laugh. And there's some other, God knows what other qualities are in there, as it were, that make them appealing. He
I got
talks
I got
about
a
his
sense.
little, what was it, understudy with prostitutes? Like
Sure. I got a sense that he doesn't feel fundamentally a part of the world.
Mhm.
And that definitely adds a layer of mystery that I mean, the way he talks about events and even his own self is sort of a not it's kind of an erasure, like where he reaches a point of no longer human as sort of like a destiny, but not quite. Something like that, but not quite that.
Well, it's interesting the relationship to basically being no well the title no longer human because the thing is he's never felt human. He's
Right.
always felt since he was a kid that like other people are just these bizarre, unintelligible things that you have to propitiate, or else they're going to do something terrible. You have to accept their gifts, and to appear on the same page with them, and like that's just the constant fact of his life. He's a class clown because he needs to satisfy them, and the more that they like him, the greater fear he has of being found out as a fraud. And the two worst moments of his life are the times when he's like overacting a little bit and someone points out, "You're faking, aren't you?" Like he'd rather have a 10-year prison sentence than like have had the police inspector point out that he was coughing in an exaggerated fashion for sympathy.
Yeah, and also don't like we shouldn't pathologize. Like he's not like a sociopath or like that would be almost more boring. It's like he deeply feels what he's feeling.
Yeah,
So his alienation is not bland. His alienation is big.
yeah, he
It's a problem to him.
yeah, and like my feeling like through at least at the very beginning of the book, my overwhelming feeling is, oh God, kid, I really wish you had like a good therapist or like a very understanding mother or aunt or something that could have like got you out of this perpetual anxiety. Like that would have because like I just it's so deep, it's so constant, it's so wretched what it puts him through. I'm just gonna say like my I basically just feel like Yotzo is a good guy who just has problems, big problems, and God knows what you do about those problems when he gets older.
It just felt like there was there's a lot of resonances between him and the self-portraits of Akutagawa. Um they're very different subjects, but there's like a very charming humility in both writers where it's not like Hunter Thompson. Like, did you ever read Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas?
I watched the movie, but I haven't read the book.
It, writers, there are writers that do what he does way better than he does. He's like a B plus writer. He's okay. But there's also like an ego, like a like it's he kind of does this thing too, but for him it's like fuck you world, I'm showing you who's what. That makes it less real, like with Fear and Loathing, there's something fake about Hunter Thompson,
Yeah,
something showy. Like he's this drug guy who just has to do this, and there's nothing like that in Dazai in this character.
yeah. I think the closest comparison in my mind, at a certain level, is uh, geez, Catcher in the Rye,
Yeah,
because it is just this very confused adolescent, an adolescent who has far fewer problems in a sense than beloved Datsai, but who is just he does all these little silly irrational things. He's very clueless about everything, and what's really notable about both of them is this intense sense of like the phoniness of the world around him. Like that's something that comes up multiple times in. Catcher in the Rye is famous for just like calling everything phony.
right.
Um, but in that side, it comes up more in like when dealing with like a something like an attorney, a relative, some henchman of his father's, as he's referred to as.
Well, I have a
Fought
passage right
pitch.
here that can kind of illustrate his relationship to,
Hmm.
if not the world, at least people in the world. My definition of a respected man was one who had succeeded almost completely in hoodwinking people, but who was finally seen through by some omniscient, omnipotent person who ruined him and made him suffer a shame worse than death. I think that's one of the greatest sentences ever written because it's such a roller coaster. It starts off in a certain way, and then by the end, you're like, "Oh, okay." It's it's like a three-course meal in one delicious
Yeah,
arc.
it really is. And like, okay, but with the character Flatfish, it's like, it's like there's a point when like the guy is Flatfish wants him to do something. He wants him to go back to school, and because he's sort of always talking and elusively, circumlocutively, politely, in the fashion not to hurt his feelings, he never states the point clearly,
Hmm.
and he just feels that side just feels utterly suffocated by this like insincerity, like this whole wall of like, what are you talking about? I don't know, and like that happens throughout. And like it's actually interesting comparing him to the protagonist, Holden Caulfield of Catcher in the Rye. Of like, they're both very aware of the phoniness of the world,
Hmm.
uh, but Yotzo is just much more like, well, okay, I have to perform now. I have to keep
Yeah.
appearances. Like that's not how Holden Caulfield reacts.
And there's actually almost a moment of like psychoanalytic health in the opening where he has this really wild thought, which was basically along the lines of if everything's fake, then I can act with impunity, which was like it's almost like he didn't follow through on that thought. Because there's a certain amount of some of his thinking could have led him to joy in a weird way, whereas he can't, there's this screen and he can't just get over the fact that it's not real. He's almost like a puppet, and he's only alive if he's performing. Whereas if he really thought it was truly fake all the way through, he might actually be more relaxed.
Well, what's interesting is he has a moment with his friend Hariki. I forget his name, but the the other unpleasant friend of his, where at one point his friend says like society should be outraged with you, and he reflects on that he's always should feared society beforehand, but once he hears like his friends say this, it's like, wait, you just mean you? Like society
Yeah.
is just individuals. Like you're just talking about yourself here, and it's like,
He did the Margaret Thatcher thing, which was great. There is no society, there's just individuals.
yeah, and
Yeah,
it's
he has
like,
this realization.
and he realizes this, and he sort of just views society as this like constant conflict between individuals. That's all that really composes it, and he becomes much more assured in a certain level. I mean, more
Yeah.
aggressive, more. It's not exactly a revelation that makes him healthier.
Yeah, I
Unfortunately.
mean, health might not be but like maybe path towards clarity, that revelation for a lot of us would be kind of a nice revelation. You get freeing, it might not be in the long term, but it might in the short term if you're worried about some punitive object called society, it might be really helpful to be like, that doesn't exist or whatever, but like for him it kind of doesn't go well. I mean, I think the weird thing about this type of fiction is like you do sort of wonder, is it is it a man admitting a degree of failure in life to make great art, or is this really truly a diary hidden under fiction? Like what for me the question about this type of document is how are we supposed to take it kind of as a whole in
Yeah,
relationship to Dazai's life?
I'd say it's getting at features of Dot Size life.
Okay.
Because like other works, like I've read Setting Sun, which is also partially autobiographical. Like there's a famous writer character who's clearly Dot Sai. It's like this is basically just taking a certain major aspect of his life and almost like, well, what if things had gone differently? It is kind of how I feel, and like it's picking up on like themes like his issues with alcoholism, his issues with well, killing himself with women. Um, that's
It's, it's like the funniest sentence. His issues with killing himself with women is great. I love that.
yeah,
Yeah. Well, I read The Beggar Student, the novella, and it was kind of similar. It was like the main character was clearly a fictionalized Dazai. I mean, I always find that position interesting. You know, whenever it shows up, it shows up. I mean, Malaparte's fiction's that way. It's really common. Um, I'm not against that. I just find it interesting when people fictionalize themselves
yeah, it's. I mean,
and choose
how
that
are
as
we?
their life's project. Like they always do the I. It's not often third person. You know, I just find it interesting that that's a very common 20th century position to take.
Yeah. Now I now in terms of how we take uh the character of Yotso, I mean, I just kind of just feel just straightforward sympathy for him. Like
Yeah.
I don't feel like this is a bastard. I don't feel this is a bad guy. Maybe he's a bad guy for you personally, like interacting with him. Like he's become toxic, and well, he knows he's toxic. And like one of the most sort of touching moments of the book was like he's living with a woman who a single mother.
Mhm.
He just went on a bender the previous night. Um, and after like selling like pawning his I think it's his girlfriend's underclothing in order to like pay for it. He's coming back and he's overhearing them in the stairwell and outside the door talking, and like they just bought a little like a rabbit, and it was just this like beautiful moment between mother and daughter, just having fun together, just real happiness. And he's like, I don't want to ruin this. I don't want to destroy this. Like I will destroy this if I stay in their lives. And he just, after closing the creak of the door he'd been looking through, just walks away. Where he goes off to live with another woman uh, immediately and without further questions being asked.
Well, yeah, I mean, I also thought so touching is not the right word. A mix of horror and also just like really a human moment is when he feels paralyzed during the rape scene. I thought that was kind of a wild moment.
Oh, that was so fucking complicated. I just
I had to read it like 5 times because I my first time reading it through, I actually thought he was the rapist, and I went, "What? That's completely not right." And then I went, "Oh no, no, no." And then I went, "Wait, hold on." But that was the one complicated scene, but I kind of understood the impotence there did shine through for me.
yeah,
He couldn't jump in.
I was it was just so understated in what I guess is probably a typical Japanese fashion. I don't know.
Yeah.
It was just so foreign to me culturally of like your reaction to your wife being, raped is just like to not intervene. And the wife seems, I mean, she's very upset about sort of their relationship, as it were. Um, but she's not really upset about the incident in this odd way. I frankly, there's just cultural stuff that I didn't know what to do with emotionally. I got this idea of like he feels humiliated by the whole situation, but I don't know. I don't know. This is honor culture stuff that I can't process that well.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it is. I mean, first of all, you're right. I mean, there's stuff that I, from the first person, is not a part of my world. But I mean, with a culture where some of those values are intact, um, yeah, I thought it was really well done and horrifying because it's like, I mean, I do also think that just the fact that there's like an earth-shattering traumatic event and that it's not like all horror show and on display like it is in Balzac or
Hmm.
in other like Flaubert has some great like in A Little Life it's like the description of the horse attack. In this one it's like and then the village burned to the ground. Next summer, we were over here, and you're like, and I mean, but that goes way back. I mean, even in the high-end Diary of Lady Sherry Sarashina, you know, that was like to the max of that. It was like her husband died, and we didn't even know she was married. It
Yeah,
was
yeah,
like
it was.
it's kind of. I wonder if that is like a trend in the literature of the country to kind of efface trauma or just like events. I don't know. I mean, it was.
I mean, I did not know it because, like, I mean, Kutagawa isn't like that. He's very kind of center of the page. This is the horrifying thing we're looking at here.
Yeah.
Like it's exception, but maybe he's more Western in a certain way. Um,
And then we're kind of splitting hairs, right? Because it's like, I love Japanese literature, but I don't really need to pin down what it is.
yeah,
Like, I don't need to be like, oh, this is the full difference between this and this, because, yeah, you're right. Obviously, Tanizaki was very Westernized. All his favorite writers were Western. Um, but like, maybe that's just Dazai too. Maybe just Dazai wanted to portray this event in a way
no, I think
that
it worked.
showed him as really truly impotent. I mean,
Yeah,
look, it's not flattering,
no,
and that's one of the few scenes where it's truly non. There's no way you can make it serve anyone's ego in any sense. It is bad. It is rotten to the core. And I think that's what I liked about it is that it was like, yeah, that sounds real. Because it doesn't, on a certain level, it doesn't really cohere. And you're saying cultural difference. I'm kind of just wondering if it's just that it doesn't, it's a little loose.
yeah, no, I think it works. Like it does.
Mhm.
I think it's just something like, yeah, his wife is being raped downstairs, and he's not doing any, and his friend isn't doing anything either about it. It's okay. That's just a thing that you take as a family humiliation, and now you're just quiet about it. It was actually so confusing to me. I almost felt like, well, okay, was she actually like, was this like an affair sort of situation? Like, I like that's how it sort of read to me at first. But no, no, that's not what happened. She was just violated. Um,
No, yeah, and it's like really, it's like it's uncomfortable.
yeah,
It's almost not even literary satisfying. It's more just like, oh, thank you, Datsai, for making the most uncomfortable scene ever.
yeah, and it's like it's a nice thing right after like he and his friend are just on the roof and they're just sort of bullshitting, like playing literal word games with each other. About like what's the antonym of flower? Moon. No, moon is a synonym. Just that
Mhm.
sort of thing. Perpetually, and he starts to like really get self-involved of like about crime and punishment and feeling like he's found something deep if you can find the antonym to crime. And I've been informed by a Japanese speaker of my acquaintance that
Yeah.
that scene is like sort of actually meant to like sort of satirize things along the lines of like the Tao Te Ching and other kinds of just
Yeah.
historical, philosophical documents in the East.
Well, a lot of those documents, I read one that's kind of, it's called this like Zen koans, and they're a lot of it makes fun of a lot of the training of some of the Buddhist monks, and a lot of it is literally like that they're making fun of in this one book is like, what is the opposite of one river? And like, it's
Three
just a
rivers.
silly, whatever. I don't know. I don't care. But like, that's three rivers. And then like in the book that's making fun of it, it's like, and then before I could answer, the master slapped and said, "Whatever you said will be wrong because you've only been here 6 months," or whatever. It's like so. But yeah, no, I think that. I mean, I don't know, but it sounds like that tracks with my limited knowledge. It was fun on that scene. I also think that like I don't know if impotence is the right word because like it's just too sexual and he's definitely not sexually impotent. But like there is a certain like dismalness to this book.
Yeah, for a guy
You
who's
know?
apparently very funny, um, there's no laughter going on.
Yeah, like I don't know. It's like and it's sort of it's a type of nihilism that makes for really good literature, but it kind of like I read I saw we were literally reviewing this at like a similar time today on Goodreads, and I felt the same way about not needing to read it again, and I think part of it is because of the kind of dreariness of the effect for me. There's nothing wrong with that, of course. I just like felt it so thoroughly the first time, I didn't need another dose of it.
Yeah, I'm very. I mean, for me, the first time I read it, I felt rather done with it.
Okay.
Uh, but actually, and actually, certainly, I remember feeling kind of disappointed by the rest of the book after the introduction because it was just so shockingly good. The description of those
Wild.
three photographs.
Oh yeah.
But I have to say, it really surprised me the second time. Just how much better it was than in my memory. Like it was just the whole feeling of Yotso as a character and just his interaction with society and like these particular neuroses he has. It was just so consistently well characterized.
Yeah. I also think that at some point I want to spend just like a year reading all of Dazai and all of Mishima kind of as foils. And I know I talk about this a lot, but like I think I want to talk about it now as like Mishima's position of politics, even in his fiction, is so different from Dazai's political motions. Like he gets to be a communist for a bit in here, and it's so odd. Like it doesn't. I mean, it's so like farting aroundy. I don't know. Like, and he
it's
knows it, and he's doing it, and he sort of believes it, but he's also like, well, guess I'll do something because
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
nice.
As a student, he's introduced to the Communist Party, which is like a secretive organization. I guess it's illegal at that time in
But
Japan.
they're totally just doing like nothing, but clandestinely. They're
Yeah,
very they think very big thoughts about themselves. I mean, this
yeah.
is also true in parts of America at times,
And
right?
also, it's not just that they're like super secretive about the most banal missions.
Missions, yeah, they call them missions.
Yeah, but they're also like he even like makes fun of the economic theories as being as simple as basic arithmetic, as in like
Yeah, like
this
he's
is
not a
not deep things,
communist.
guys.
Yeah. And he kind of does the like basic critique of your freshman college communist organization, right? Like it's kind of it hasn't really aged badly. It's kind of just the same in a
And
weird
it's
way.
so funny that like he carries around with him a penknife in case of a sudden armed revolution breaking out. And apparently it's so dull it could barely cut anything. Which is just a delightful like it's
It's
so
delightful.
but he loves it. He loves being there because of just that note of irrationality. I don't exactly know the dimension of the irrationality, but I guess just how like phony and silly it all is. I mean, I guess that's actually what you were. Oh,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
what you were mentioning about like the quote of him saying like, if everything were fake, then I feel okay. Then I feel okay. And it's like, oh well,
Yeah.
here's a situation where everything is fake, where it all is very silly. I can finally just not feel on edge with other human beings.
Yeah, I mean, I think that like it's interesting because I mean, this is kind of a fun theme in a lot of books. There's even a Rainer Werner Fassbinder movie about like left-wing terrorists and they're all deluded, just like wannabes basically. It even goes to like Monty Python's Life of Brian, all sorts of
Yes,
like
yes.
this sort of critique. And then it's kind of interesting because on the flip side, in other countries, it's actually like left-wing politics has like a force to it that's not like at this time in other countries, there's actually like really interesting stuff. Like labor disputes in America where people are getting murdered. Like Okay, no one's laughing at that. But then you go to this and it's like, oh yeah, this just feels like Columbia 2019. And so it's like there's a really interesting simultaneity in the politics of this where it I don't know enough about Japan political history, especially with the rise of fascism and their brand of it, but like Dazai does not give us a very promising picture that communism was ever going to be an option in this country.
Yeah, it didn't seem optimistic from his experience. And I'm right now like halfway through Dostoevsky's Demons, which is about also
Oh yeah.
like socialists, revolutionaries.
Yeah, how is
And
it?
it's not a very flattering picture either. It's
Yeah.
very amateurish. It's more just constant internal fighting and getting some very silly poems published. Um, uh, I I don't know exactly where this goes. I presume something rather remarkable happens somewhere later on. But it's
Yeah. It's kind of a theme of the
better
last, what do
than
you think, 200 years, maybe? I mean, but maybe it starts around that time. I mean, labor movements in that way. We're not talking the Weavers, right? We're not talking riots and murder in the street. We're talking like, and that does happen, but that's not this type of psychology. It's almost like the type of social movements where the person doesn't want them to succeed.
yeah, it's something yeah it's something so poorly conceived in a basic level. But anyway, the communism side is a very small little detour in
But
the
it's a great detour in the book because, you contrast that with Mishima, and on one level they say similar things. Like Mishima said that like the irrationality of Japanese culture is what will put it on the world stage and it must be preserved, which is a very weird complicated sentence. So he's more, opposite side, but there is like that sentence kind of sounds like Datsai in a weird way. Like they almost meet at that irrationality.
yeah I'm trying to I mean there's I don't know what to do with that.
No, no, you're fine. I mean,
Really
I basically
don't.
I just think of Mishima as being this like honest bad guy. Like, and I think of Datsai as being a little bit more of a lout. They had lunch one time and Mishima called him a lout, which is kind of funny. That was their only meeting. I wish they had more interactions, but it never would happen. I mean,
Yeah, yeah.
it's like us hanging out with like the disciples of Charlie Kirk or something.
Oh God, it's so horrible. I'm
Oh
having
no, I just flagged us. No, I'm wait. But um yeah, it would be, right? Like so that's the difference between these two. And we think of these as just classic Japanese writers, but I think there was more of a gap in the world between the two of them.
yeah, yeah, certainly. And like I think about I don't know the quality of the writers is a certain kind of. I feel at least in certain dimensions, Mishima has had his act together. I'm not. I know aspects of his biography and
Right up until he committed ritual seppuku.
yeah, accepting that he seemed a little more like together on things, more calculated, let's say.
I love
Um,
though that you're laughing that you're saying that
yeah, yeah, it's
because it
hard.
doesn't really cohere. I mean, it does. I know what you mean. Like he wasn't like an alcoholic. He was a bodybuilder. Um, but yeah, I mean, they're just really, honestly, I like it because they're just foils for each other. I don't know if we have that in America. I mean, is there a foil for Hemingway? I mean, does that exist?
I mean, Salinger. It's
Yeah.
more like it's like it's a character much more out of control and much more emotionally involved. But
Yeah.
I just want to give this like like a bit from like when he's dealing with the communists.
Oh
Uh,
yeah, go for it.
Irrationality. I find the thought faintly pleasurable. Or rather, I felt at ease with it. What frightened me was the logic of the world. In it lay the foretaste of something incalculably powerful. Its mechanism was incomprehensible, and I could not possibly remain closeted in that windowless, bone chilling room. Though outside lay the sea of irrationality, it was far more agreeable to swim in its waters until presently I drowned. And it's like it's fun. It's just like, yeah, he likes that kind of irrationality. He likes that escape from like this inscrutable logic of the world.
Do you-
Um,
I mean, do you think that's kind of God, I was about to ask, like, why does he like women? That's such a weird sentence. Like, like it doesn't ever go well for him and women, but he never really succeeds in.
yeah, it's interesting of the different reactions of he feels very at home with prostitutes earlier
Hmm.
in his life. They feel very much he likes their sort of cheerfulness. He likes their sort of openness. He likes, I think he likes how just sort of dumb they are on a certain level, or at least,
Yeah. No, no, no. But he likes that there's no secrets.
yeah,
It's just a transaction, so that he views it as more like honest almost.
yeah,
Like the
and
well of like human interaction is so terrifying and gigantic. Prostitution seems at least fairly simple.
yeah, and it's interesting what happened. I mean, like with I think the first individual woman dealt with of a relationship,
Hmm.
Sundara, however we say her name, like the hostess, who like has the husband in jail, and it's like he feels something. He feels a connection with her basically because of her misery, because of her poverty, because of just the indigence hanging over her. And there's a certain connection that creates for him. But then,
Yeah.
like the next day, it's like he's starting to feel like, ah, God, I don't. The woman's going to be completely different now. I have to interact with her more. It's going to be a different world, and now I'm going to have to start clowning, and now I'm going to have to, to propitiate, and like he enters something much more insincere, which only sort of comes back again later when he runs into her and again sort of sees the indigence and the humiliation of her existence.
Yeah, no, yeah, that's what happens. And I think one of the things there's an insight later on in the last notebook where he says like I can't say no.
Yeah,
And I think that kind of also ties a lot of this together. He like and he meant it like turtles all the way down. He couldn't say no. He always had to.
yeah, like and that's what happens with I mean, it goes back to when he's a kid, and his father is just like asking all the kids like, oh, I'm going to Tokyo, what gift do you want? And he just sort of out of confusion sort of says nothing, and he sees his father's upset with it, and then he goes down later that night after being awake all night, to write the name, give me a lion's mask in the notebook. And it's just he didn't want the lion's mask. He was just terrified at the idea that his father was going to be upset with him, and that's his entire life, except I guess the very end. um,
Yeah, I mean, I think that's believable.
yeah,
I think like yeah, I think it's so interesting because like I think there's a great misrecognition between the father and the son because the father thinks at that moment, oh, he really wanted this, but couldn't, tell me.
yeah.
Instead of, oh, he doesn't like on the father's part, the idea that he didn't want anything was like weirdly incomprehensible. Not weirdly incomprehensible, believably so. I mean, that's how it works. So I thought that like parent-son relationship was just utterly how it is.
Yeah, it's well, one thing just on this whole bit of the incomprehensibility of other people is it's interesting the way that he can't deal with others. He doesn't understand them, and that's like a source of terror for him. And I find that very understandable in a certain sense. Of it is really complicated, like social interactions. It is there's so much subtlety, there's so much things, and you can't really what is actually going on in someone else's head. All you have is your own head to make sense of them. And I can just see like just because of that, always sort of feeling confused and threatened by others. Like I've never felt really like this. Like I've known people who are like feel like they're a freak or something
Mm.
in the world, and like oh, I'm just different from everyone else. Like they'll harm me. And there's a certain sense of what the fuck are you talking about? You're just like anybody else, or you are a freak, but the way everyone is a freak.
Right.
Um,
Yep, I've known people who do that too. Actually, some become kind of shut-ins. It's yeah, but like I think, which is interesting because if you think about it, in the history of like existential philosophy, there's all these different positions that are given that one could take towards the other. So like Kierkegaard's basic Christian one is like how difficult it is to love thy neighbor as thy love thyself. And that's a very simple Christian commandment, but it turns out to be exceedingly complicated to actually live your life in this way. It's a great book. It's called Works of Love. Um, but in the 20th century, you get more of a concept of the abyss of the other, which is a lot more Dazai like, a sort of like you don't know what the other person's thinking, but you know that there's some wall there. And you got to figure out how to cross it, but you have to live your life in a certain amount of a good faith assumption of the other. Is my That's my position. My position that I live my life by is you have to do anything in the world, even to like write a book. You have to have some level of good faith belief in the other, that they're going to understand what you're saying, that they're going to do it. And Dotsai's whole position is, okay, what if that is at stake, that connective tissue?
yeah, it's I mean one part of it is like this kind of issue of there's a term of radical translation of, you know, like to of like when you just run into some like tribe who we've never met before and like they have their own language. Like a radical translation is when like, well, there's no there's no one who knows both of these languages. You just have to figure out what it means. And like that's sort of a philosophical issue of things that come up with that. Um, and that's the thing is like that's just the human condition of like no one put words into my head. I had to sort of, you know, I sort of figured out what the words would mean by my own workings out of like dogs. Like, okay, well, these things are being pointed to. I see something similar there, sure. Um, and like that's everything. And like you have to sort of like look at other people and wonder like, okay, um, they they made their own language, as it were. Like, yeah, it uses the same sounds as me, but like, are they referring to the same stuff? Does it have the same structure for them? I don't know. There's something like very mysterious about this process of communication. Like, it's not. I'm not trying to make it that crazy, but like, there's a certain sense of like that's a
No,
challenge.
no, it's like a fundamental mystery. We're not saying it's like a mystical mystery. We're just saying it's a sort of uh, a wellspring that one can always go back to as a source of
Yeah, and like and one
interest.
thing I just want to put here that's interesting is it
Mhm.
says, you know, the character Flatfish. Flatfish's manner of speech. No, not only his, but the manner of speech of everybody in the world held strange, elusive complexities, intricately presented with overtones of vagueness. I've always been baffled by these precautions so strict as to be useless, and by the intensely irritating little maneuvers surrounding them. In the end, I have felt past caring. I have laughed them away with my clowning, or surrendered to them abjectly with a silent nod of the head in the attitude of defeat. And it's like that sort of thing of like there's all this like incredible complications in what this other person's doing. That just seems so self-defeating and pointless. And basically his reaction is like basically I'm just not going to deal with it. Either I'm going to just do my clowning and just sort of let all of those things go away, or I will just accept it in total surrender. But I can't. It's just something incomprehensible to me.
It's really interesting, right? It's like so we're all modern subjects reading literature. We're, when I mean modern, I mean like we know we're not built from the land or from
Mhm.
God. Well, just modern, like modern subjects. But that produces a sort of fundamental knowledge of alienation of, oh, okay, so I am not trans connected to the consciousness of everyone in a universal hive mind. I feel like it'd be really nice if I could believe that sometimes. Because then it would be like, oh, everything is going to be working out at some point with communication. But, we're modern. It's not going to work out. And Dazai is eminently modern. It's just he can't handle that modernity almost. That that sense of it's not longing. He doesn't long to be like in a religion or in an insulated culture or something, but there is some conflict with modernity in Dazai that makes it like a, modernistic novel.
Yeah, there's no. I guess one thing is I just sort of imagine him as like a kid being born to some medieval society and just being really confused by that almost.
Really, it's like a
Like not even having like words for it. He's just kind of like at least he's aware of the problem now. Before he would just been completely unreflectively, I don't get all these other people. I'm just clueless about it.
well, and I don't think it's everything's historical. I mean, I think that there's, Montaigne reads the same way. He's a modern subject thrown into medieval Europe. It happens everywhere. It's just that in the history of literature, it becomes a movement in the 20th century.
I mean, it's interesting. I mean, I've known individuals who are on the autism spectrum,
Yeah,
and like one of them told me that like when she was in school, she would like rehearse conversations with other people
yeah,
before she had them, and like because she just didn't know what to do otherwise, she had to prepare, which is a little that's surprising how much extra effort she had to do just to sort of keep up in that way. As she felt she had to do.
yeah, of course.
But yeah, I mean, just this whole issue of um,
Well, I mean, can't we just, I mean, okay, to make a totally bold claim and then bring it back. This is a classic in Japanese literature at a certain point of its own history as a country. Like it's got Western literature. It's moving, it's early 20th century, right before fascism takes over. It kind of sits in where it makes sense. It's kind of like, oh yeah, this is modern alienation in a way. I mean, I
yeah,
think there's a weird contrast between post World War II America with Holden Caulfield and pre World War II Japan with Dazai.
yeah, and I find that I feel Dazai is well, it's just a more sort of philosophical work. It just feels kind of
Mhm.
deeper, the kinds of statements that are made. I think maybe Getcha in the Rye is maybe the better book actually. Like it might just because of the superlative writing. I can't really judge that because it's one's written in Japanese. Um,
Well, it's hard to just classics. So it's like one's a classic, but one's a classic. You know?
but one thing that's just like important. Well, on that theme though of like alienation and just like this issue of like he just what is going on with the people when they talk.
hmm
When one way of looking at that Yotso
hmm
is like, come on, just kind of come on, buddy, just pull yourself together. Like it isn't that complicated. People are talking with you, just figure it out. Like I feel like a lot of people would look at him that way, would have that response. And there's a certain little bit of truth to it of like, is it that hard to sort of figure out these signals that you're getting? There's a certain quote unquote common sense reaction But then there's another sense in which like this is not common sense. Like the world is unnecessarily complicated and involved. It's like you can't really play the game. There is this like constant like circumlocutions that dominate life, and it's like it's hard to it's actually he's the simple one. Yotso's actually the simple and common sense
Yeah.
one in many ways. Like he's just seeing the problem that's in front of everyone else's eyes and they're not looking at it because they're overcomplicated.
Yeah, I mean, and he writes in that way, and it's beautiful. I am the sort of person who can forget even the name of a woman with whom he attempted suicide to get off from work.
Yeah, that's that that's just there's so much there. What is
There's so much there, but it's spoken so plainly. I mean, one thing I think that makes it a great novel is that, I mean, the one complicated scene is the rape scene. That aside, there were no 5 cent words in that sentence, and yet your brain goes, "Whoa, wait a minute,
I'm just
10 cent
well,
words."
it just I guess it just reminds me of just reading the Akutagawa recently and the way that the way the main character is just this mixture of really intense aesthetically based emotions of I give my whole life just to hold those purple sparks um along with like these incredibly morbid alienated reflections on I don't have the will to live but I still have the will to
Yeah.
create or why didn't we all die in this earthquake, etc. It's like it's this weird mixture of something extremely human and present and something utterly cut off at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's like one of the things that Dazai is unable to, not Dazai, sorry, our Yozo is able to do is he's not able to like have a long-term sense of pleasure. I mean, that sounds sort of facile, but it's kind of obvious. I mean, it's
Oh
like,
yeah, it's real as in like he has a nice little time briefly with some of the women in his life. Um some of them. By the way, I just want to note this is a funny thing. Like so many of the women and the way they're attracted to him, it just feels so sentimental. Just
mm,
like so kitschy at moments. And like I would understand his if all the women in my life had been like that, I would also have had ambivalent feelings towards them at the least. Um, if you keep getting assaulted by these
well, yeah, but also he
emotions.
doesn't like. I mean, what is the least Yozo thought? Marriage. Like marriage, because
Yeah, but he
marriage.
gets married. He gets married in
I
a
know he
moment.
does. That goes horribly, but
No,
like,
yeah, but it's and it goes kind of well for a little while.
yeah,
It's
he's
just
trying.
I mean it's actually like
It's like his nicest part of his life,
I
actually.
yeah it really is with that like little 17-year-old virgin who's trusting to a fault, a genius of trust. Um and it's like he hopes it works out well and it's there is some happiness for him there and then it's like fucking friend has to come around and like get him back into bad habits and like I feel
But
like
he can't say no. He can't just be like, "No, I'm happy with this lady
no
now."
it's
I mean, it's tragic. It's classically tragic. It's great. It's I'm never frustrated. Like certain books you read, you're like, Meet the Fockers, like, oh God, okay. Oh, don't do it. This one, you're kind of like, oh, this old song and dance showing up again.
yeah it just feels yeah it just feels to me very reasonable the actions he takes um given his like mental problems And I feel like everybody should see that in themselves to some extent. Like that, just that way of like okay, maybe not everybody has this like crippling fear of other people to the extent you can't say no. Lots of people don't have that problem. I don't have that problem particularly. Um, but the way in which like you just there are these awkward situations and your mind is very fogged and you do the thing that doesn't make sense. Like and I can think of lots of instances in my life where it's like that was silly and unreasonable and what were you doing and but it kind of made sense in its own perverse way in that moment.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And I mean, and I think there's a charm to the literature. Um, it's interesting. It's like we were doing banned books week last week. This one, I don't know this, but I feel like this would be a banned book because it's because like Catcher in the Rye is a banned book and a lot of like whatever that means, but like schools take it out for its content, but also because it's waylaying it's leading them astray as is one of the reasons it gets removed. And I think that would happen with Dazai because you have a very conservative culture in some aspects. On another hand, of course, that relies on a fundamental misunderstanding of all literature, of course, but this book in particular.
Yeah, it's well, one thing is I don't know, funny in my mind. Like, I can't fucking imagine young people today liking Catcher in the Rye. I say overwhelmingly. Like there'll be smart ones who do, but it's a certain. It just feels like no, it's just such a different culture. It's so radically like you can just buy a hotel room, um, and they talk in this very kind of 50s way so much of the time. Um, it's just so
I get kind
different.
of sad sometimes. It's like, oh, he's allowed outside on his own? No, not really, but a little. We're so coddling
Yeah, so it's funny in that regard.
yeah. Um, but yeah, I don't actually have much else to add, and I think that's probably why I I liked it a lot. It's not gonna be like one of my all-time favorites, but like a great classic, it resonated, and I liked it.
Yeah, I was very happy to have reread it.
Well,
I got a lot more out of it. I felt a lot more sympathy with Yotso. Yeah, and I guess I can just see like this particular person who feels he's no longer human. It's like yeah,
mhm.
like I can see lots of people like that. I see lots of people who are in this unfortunate situation that they've gone down. Um, some of them are
Yeah,
kind of blameworthy in a sense,
yeah.
but
10 years ago, this book would have done nothing for me, but now at this point in my life, I'm like, I mean, not nothing. I mean, I would have really appreciated the writing, but knowing more people and the paths that the way things go, it's like, yeah, this is a path people take sometimes.
yeah, it's
It's
just how some people get locked inside themselves.
yeah, it
And like,
happens.
and like there's ways in which I'm locked inside myself, and I'm like trying to like break myself out of things. It's like yeah, I think everyone should see Yotso in themselves.
Yeah.
Maybe then move away from that. But as the but the thing is like it's like as it says at the final line of the book, like one of his the women in his life is being asked about him, and it's she says the Yotso we knew was so easygoing and amusing, and if only he hadn't drunk. No, even though he did drink, he was a good boy, an angel. And I really like that. I really find that very touching of like, yeah, this person who really toxic to be around, actually, like really, really destructively toxic and made a mess of his life. But no, there was something good in him. And I feel that goodness on every page.
Every page.
Yeah.
100%. Well, cool. I know it's a little bit shorter, but I don't know. I don't have too much more to say about that side. I like him.
It's a short book. So,
Yeah, it's a short book.
all right. Well, bye, everybody. Good time.